Use Instacart for grocery delivery. You might be paying more than the person right next door, and you'll never know it. A new Consumer Reports investigation found Instacart running AI-assisted pricing experiments on shoppers across several major grocery chains, and the price differences can be big. In some cases, shoppers saw prices that were 23% more for the same item. Costco, Kroger, Safeway, Sprouts, Albertsons, and Target. If you've used Instacart to shop at any of these retailers, you may have unknowingly participated in Instacart's AI-enabled pricing experiments, according to a new Consumer Reports investigation.
We had hundreds of volunteers shop for the same exact grocery products at the same exact time. And in every case, they were subject to price experiments.
That means two people buying the same groceries from the same store at the same time could see very different prices. And those differences can add up. At one Safeway in the Seattle area, the same basket of groceries ranged from about $114 to nearly $124.
Based on the variations we saw and using Instacart's numbers for how much a household of four spends on groceries in a given year, this could result in a cost swing of about $1,200.
Instacart confirms CR's findings, but says only 10 retailers use its pricing tools. Instacart also insists that most customers still see standard prices and that personal or demographic data isn't used. Target told CR that it had no business relationship with Instacart. Safeway, Costco, and Kroger did not respond to CR's questions about Instacart's price experiments. Sprouts declined to comment. Instacart has since said it has stopped experiments at Target and at Costco. So what can you do? CR's advice: shop in person when possible and stick to simple money savers like planning your list and buying in bulk. And this is not too different from what I reported a couple of years ago here in New England. Instacart often jacks up the price over what's in store, and they don't necessarily make it clear that they are doing that. So you do have to be careful. States are already starting to respond to concerns about algorithmic pricing. New York now requires any algorithm set price to carry a clear disclaimer. And places like California, Colorado, and Pennsylvania are considering bills that would ban surveillance pricing altogether for certain types of retailers.
We were promised flying cars and medical breakthroughs and universal basic income and all sorts of things. But what instead are they using artificial intelligence for? To price gouge you at a new level like that we've never really seen before. This is late stage capitalism. And here it is. Perfect example. Mike, what do you make of this whole price gouging scheme that Instacart's doing?
Not shocking. Not only has Instacart been sort of notorious, like this reporter mentioned, about, marking prices up without, really informing users that it's doing so. But this particular investigation that uncovered this price gouging was carried out by a few different groups, but one of them was More Perfect Union. And I know that a couple months back, they did a similar investigation into like airlines and how airlines would use what's called surveillance pricing, where they will use your personal data and your location data to determine how much to charge you. So the same ticket from the same location is worth different depending on where you live, or at least like where you're logged into or things like that. So this is definitely not great to see. Sadly, I think we're going to see more and more companies doing this, like you mentioned, where this is late stage capitalism here. It's dog eat dog, and it's only going to get more aggressive, especially as the markets get cornered more and more. I mean, these monopolies are out here taking the game by the ass. And, I think that we are the ones that are going to end up paying the price. So at the very least, I hope, like this reporter mentioned, maybe there's some way that this can be regulated. At the very least, companies should have disclaimers that say, hey, this price, you are seeing this price because of your location. If they were honest and forthright with what they're doing, then I don't think people would put up with it. But even if they did, at the very least, you could say, okay, they're telling us buyer beware, whatever. But the fact that they're not being upfront about it and that they're being intentionally deceptive about it, it's just bad business.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see all the free market absolutist people up in arms about this because there's nothing free market about this. This is pure market manipulation. If you let the free market do its job according to them, we should see the best prices for the best goods. This is Instacart coming in and just playing with the numbers and literally manipulating the prices. That's like the last point of sale to the customer, that the price that they see individually targeted depending on probably your zip code or your IP address, based on your location. If you're living in a more affluent area, chances are you're going to get charged more. That's not free market, and that's not how capitalism is supposed to work, even in the words and the ideas of pro-capitalist people. This is just a byproduct of late-stage capitalism, in my opinion, which is monopolies and large companies coming in, and their goal, as always, to maximize profits and to, minimize risk and minimize labor and just, squeeze the customer as much as physically and theoretically possible. And we're seeing it today.
Yeah, and on top of that, if they make these increase in profits, are they going to start paying Instacart shoppers more? No. These delivery drivers, no, they're going to give them as little as possible, and that's tried and true. And let's not also forget other delivery services like DoorDash and Uber Eats. These companies do very similar things. Maybe they're not necessarily price gouging by surveillance pricing, but they are definitely price gouging in general. They mark up everything. They treat their delivery personnel like garbage. And on top of it, I know for me personally, I was a huge user and supporter of DoorDash. I enjoyed DoorDash. I got kind of hooked on it during COVID. But about 6 months ago, I stopped using it because I got a notice when I logged in that said, hello, resident, your state is passing legislation that could, affect your prices. Do you want your prices to go up? You should tell your congressman and your senators to vote against this legislation. And I thought, oh man, this seems serious. I don't want to pay more. So when I went and actually looked at the legislation to find out, what's going on and why are they messing with DoorDash, I realized, the reason is because they're trying to tax these companies because they pay so little in state taxes anyway. But meanwhile, they're raking in tons of profit. So my state's legislation was raising their taxes by a few percents, and DoorDash's solution to that was, if they're going to do that, then we're going to increase our service fees to offset the cost. So they're already making millions and millions in profits, but instead of just doing the right thing and having this free market business like you're mentioning, and just carrying on with business as usual and paying taxes and helping the communities that they're profiting from, what do? We're going to charge you even more so that way you, the customer, are paying the tax, and we, the company, we get to sit back and have our profits and have our cake and eat it too. It's disgusting.
Yeah, in a normal, healthy, functioning economy, like you alluded to, what a successful company that makes profits would do is to reinvest some of those profits into the product, into the service, to make things better, to pay their workers a fair wage, to pay their drivers a fair wage. But what we see in late stage capitalism is nope. Especially if you're a publicly traded company, that money goes right back into the shareholders, right back into the board of directors, in stock buybacks and what have you, just to maximize their profits even more. So the people with the yachts, they get to buy a bigger yacht while you get to pay more for your groceries. And that's late stage capitalism in a nutshell.